Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to our third webinar for today that's part of the Swim for Akhira campaign. We are so excited to have with us Dr. Nura as we speak on our youth, our kids, and why the Muslim communities need to speak up more about swimming for the future generation. Brought to you and presented by Ola and Nura. Myself, again, I am the CEO of Be Fit for Akhira. I graduated from George Mason with the BS in Biology, Health Promotion Minor. I am a certified personal trainer and a swim instructor. And I'm also the podcast host of Purposeful Fitness with Coach Ola. Dr. Nura is a physical education teacher with a health promotion background who advocates for parents and children to have a healthy lifestyle. Through radio appearances, her profession, and through her writing, she wants to change the world for children's health, one healthy tip at a time. And you should check her show. It's really amazing, mashallah. I love her sense of humor. And our objectives for today is to share our experiences with the youth in sports, when to start teaching kids in swimming and speaking about the water safety, how to prevent drowning and how to educate kids about it even at home, the importance of parent attitude toward kids, especially into swimming, it's a huge one, how to avoid creating phobia for kids into swimming, how to help them feel comfortable, and of course, Q&A at the very end. And let's get started. Bismillah. So we will share about our experiences with the kids. I worked about 2 years with Soccer Shots. It's a franchise company, and so my experience isn't per se. I didn't start into swimming right away. I started with soccer kids, and I want to let Nura speak first about her experience, and then I can dive into mine. So, Dr. Noor, welcome to the show. We want to get to know more about you and your experience with physical education with kids and how it all started with you.
Thank you so much for the invitation. That's first. Now my journey started. My journey started with oh my God, I'm so sorry being distracted. Okay, no, thank you. Okay, no, it's okay. My journey started as a teacher, physical education teacher, and before I started teaching, I was in a health promotion background field. But when I started teaching, I saw a lot of issues with children. In fact, I had a couple cases fainting in my classroom, and for a child as young as 8 years old to faint because of malnourishment, um, that was scary for me. And I felt that there was something more needed to be done regarding education and children, whether be it for just sports, healthy lifestyle, or just for swimming, for whatever it is that will help the child to move forward in their life with a healthy body and a healthy attitude and good habits. So that's how everything started for me. So, and then later I started thinking, how can I spread this message? So it went from teaching to seeing there's a need for spreading the word regarding living or having a healthy family, into writing, then into a radio show, and yeah, now I'm doing my PhD with e-learning and engagement in health education for children. Yeah.
Mashallah, I'm sorry, I was muted. So what about your experience with swimming? How did that start for you?
Swimming, teaching children swimming as a personal or for children?
Both of them, if you don't mind.
Um, Personally, my first experience ever was my aunt trying to get me in the swimming pool, and she literally put my head inside the water, and I was suffocating, and I was so scared. That was my first experience. My mom, she never wanted to be involved with water because she have had a drowning experience. So she never wanted me to be around water. But if I was someone else other than her, she was fine with it. Unfortunately, my first experience was when I was 7 years old with my aunt, and I had my head being pushed down in the seawater, and I was terrified for my life. Um, but then later, when I was in high school, I learned that, you know what, I was a child and I should not have any types of phobias. I was a little bit more educated regarding why you need swimming, why it's important, even as a life skill, not as an athlete. And I got to learn how to swim, and that was it. I continued swimming whenever I had the chance.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I was gonna ask you what age. For me, it started at 6 years old as well. And so, how about your teaching with kids? When did that start then?
Teaching, I started 7 years ago, 6 years ago actually. 6 years ago, I started teaching children, and it was a requirement as a physical education teacher. I had to teach swimming because the school I was working in, they had a swimming pool. So
Awesome. And so in your experience with working with kids, what have you noticed the pattern? Like, what age did you work with the kids that you work?
I work with children as young as 6 years old.
Uh-huh.
And the biggest pattern you will see is the same experience I had when I was around 7 and 8, which is someone from the family member either pushed them in the swimming pool or forced them to be swimming. So it's a very common negative experience for a lot of children.
Right. And so with my experience with soccer, I worked from it was ages 2 to 1 second. This is so embarrassing. I'm sorry. Um yeah, so we just have a delivery over from my house. I'm sorry. This is so weird. So with we're working with kids 2 to 8 years old. They are very it's that age is really interesting, especially with infants. It that experience taught me, like, the patience and how to talk to them, because the 2 years are very, like, hyper. They need attention span and different style than, like, the 6 years old. And the same thing when it came to the water. When I work with them at that age, it taught me how, or the experience that I've had so far with kids at that age, like Nura said, like, they could be scared from the water. And that's why we will talk about parents, how to approach them when it comes to the water, and why it's important for us to make it lovable for them at that age. So we will continue talking about this, inshallah. And so then the right age to speak about swimming. Um, in your experience, Nura, at what age do you think it's the right to start talking about swimming?
It depends on what the parent's goal is, okay?
Hmm.
So if they want to start with a safety or a life skill, life saving skill, then they should start as young as 6 to 8 month old. And there are special programs for toddlers how to save themselves in the water, how to float on their back, or just in case if they fall in a swimming pool or something, how to save themselves. But if they want to teach their children as a sport for athletic purposes, they should start as young as 2 years old. But just for fun, I think, or just as a skill in general, then always starting as young as possible is always the best, because at the end of the day, swimming is very important for your health. It's very important for your muscles, and it's a very important life-saving skills that everyone should know and learn from a young age.
Yes, and I believe Red Cross, when I took my certification, I learned that it's as early as 6 months, like babies, because that's what's a good age to introduce to the mom. Like, the mom can also increase her bond with the kids, with her
Yeah.
child. And so 6 months is actually not that like, it's actually a good time to start, like you say. And so the importance of educating our kids about water safety, I think, is a huge aspect that our communities doesn't talk about enough, in my opinion. So let's
Hmm.
rewind to say that I am from the USA right now, but I'm also from Syria. So I'm speaking right now
Yeah.
from, like, an American experience. And then Noura is also from the Arab background, but lives in a Middle Eastern country in Dubai. So I want to see your experience in the Middle East. Like, how much do you talk about water safety in Dubai?
Well, I grew up in Canada. Um, But let me tell you one thing, it's not about our community, it's about many communities. And then teaching swimming or educating children about swimming depends on the surroundings. So you will see people who live by the beach or by the water, they will know more swimming. People who live on the mountain, if they have a swimming pool or whatnot, then they will get into educating their kids about swimming. Or if the family goes a lot on vacation where there's water, it depends on the environment that that child is growing up into. But in terms of communities, it's not about that. It's more about raising awareness regarding swimming is important for everyone, regardless you live in the mountain, there's no water around you, or you live by the water, by the beach, and there's a lot of water around you. So it's a skill that everyone should know, regardless of where they live or their surrounding is. It doesn't have to be something they learn um, as a competitive sport, but as a life-saving skill, it's necessary.
Thank you so much. That's a very good point about the beach versus the mountain. Um, and like we had a webinar from like with Muslim moms on Friday, and then yesterday with the Burkini modest swimwear, and then the same thing comes up where a lot of the moms put their kids and then they forget themselves, and that's why I asked for the right age, so that the right age it's as early as 6 months, and then it's the environment, and that's why even if you're in the mountain, you never know what could happen. If like a tornado, like a natural disaster happens, and then the water just comes
Yeah,
up or what have you. It's important to like learn about it, and that's why our kids should know, because what if like we go to a picnic and there's open water, and they have no idea that the deeper they go, the dangerous they can get. And
yeah.
so I believe it's the next slide to talk about the phobia and how to prevent it. So as we all know, that it takes about a moment for the drowning to happen. A child or a weak swimmer can drown at any time. And then we all know that death and injury could be prevented by educating our kids, and also could happen at home in a bathtub. There are stories where kids drown while taking a shower or do the bubble bath with the kids, lakes, rivers. And then the Red Cross believes that by working together, we can prevent all of that, inshallah. And so even as a lifeguard, even if the lifeguard is there, it's important to still talk about it. And that is why we have highlighted here that teaching children is always to ask permission. And that goes back to the child behavior, which Nuna will also touch base on. The parent kid communication is a huge factor, and it all goes back at home. And then we also believe that it's important to swim with a buddy. And so, do you have anything else to touch base on this, from your knowledge,
Regarding the
experience?
swimming safety, first of all, for children
Yeah.
and teaching them about phobias and all of this, first of all, you need to know what your target is.
Hmm.
If you want to teach the child about water safety, as in rescuing themselves, what they should do. If someone else is drowning, what they should do without hurting themselves. If there is a danger scene, what they should be doing. So it's a multi-layer education that the child should have, and the parents, I know the for swimming specifically, the parents experience can reflect a lot on the child. We need to have that sort of education and raise awareness regarding, doesn't matter what experience you've had. There are people who learn how to swim at 40 and they wish that they have had it when they were younger, because maybe it limited them from having fun in the pool or when they had vacation, or they could have saved themselves in a certain situation, or they have avoided water because they were scared. So swimming, or the parents experience, does play a big role on how it reflects on the child when it comes to swimming. Regardless, we should raise awareness to parents and let them know that water safety should start from a young age, and water safety should include different layers of education regarding what the child should do in case there is danger, in case how to save themselves, if they are panicking in the water, what they do if someone needs help in the water, what they can do without hurting themselves. So, or if they need to go and call help. um, yeah, so it's a two-way education for parents and children that needs to be done.
100%. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking of Ed, who released a story about himself to empower the Black swimmers, and he learned swimming at a like
Yeah,
older age, but he got
Yeah.
insight from his daughter. And so that is something for the parents also, like take that opportunity to teach your kids and then be inspired from them, and then you learn with them. So it becomes like a family event, and that could create a better family bond.
Yeah.
Inshallah. Really good points. And the parents' experience is actually a huge one. So
Yeah.
then that goes back to the next great segue for the importance of parents' attitude and why it's
Huh.
important to make it a sport, a joy. And it all starts being at home. And we all know mental health is a huge aspect, and that's why that goes back to actually the mental health and parents. So, Nura, with your experience as a physical education teacher with working with the kids, have you noticed kids their fear in the water due to the parents? Have you ever like
Oh yeah.
my mom, my
Yeah,
dad?
I have had enough kids crying and hanging on to me,
Mhm.
and they are scared for their life just being touched by the water. So parents talking to them is very important. The swimming instructor will know well how to deal with children, whoever have experience. Giving and providing comfort for the child is very important. If the child is having extreme phobia from water and being very scared, if they are willing to learn, it's very important that you provide fun, because once there's games, playing, or any sort of fun or competitions in the water, at least as a start in a shallow end, the kids will have a really positive experience and they are more willing to learn. But if kids are having phobia and they're really scared just to touch the water or be inside, and they just want to sit on the poolside and have their feet in only, it's very important that either the instructor to be very close to them as a start until they get the comfort and the confidence in themselves and water confidence. So that all relates to how the instructor goes about it. But comfort is very important, and fun does play a big role into, again, bringing comfort and confidence in the water.
Yes, and I'm smiling because I'm thinking about the kids that I work with at KAA. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Local private swim Islamic school. And I remember this girl, is so cute. She's so tiny, little, young. And then I believe what happened is the swim cap, like she wasn't comfortable in the swim cap and she wanted to take it off, but then like her dad doesn't want her to get her hair wet. And so
Yeah.
like there's that aspect of like the parents want a certain thing, but then like it's really impossible to not have that happen in the water. Or for instance, like the clothing issues, like where the kids wear the wrong clothes and then we have to tell them like
Yeah.
that's not the proper clothes. And that goes back to like number one, parents' attitude, but also parents to be educated on like what to wear, and that will come up in the next few slides. um, and also, I mean, this is my own personal experience. You can elaborate on this, but when I work with another organization, small business, I notice like parents attitude is so important in terms of like to stay humble, because if the kids become a little bit too like arrogant or like, oh, then they can start bullying the next kids, or like because they are at a different like a higher skill that could intimidate the other students around them. So when I was working with kids, they were like this uh, boys who know how to swim. They're so good, but like I can't teach the advanced level yet to the entire classroom because it's important to like talk about the safety of water. And so that, I mean, that is just my experience. I'm not sure. What about, have you noticed that come up in your experience with kids?
Mm. My experience with,
With kids who kind of bully kids down or like don't treat you with
oh,
respect,
oh,
like
oh,
how?
no, there's no chance for bullying to happen around water. That's a big no,
Mhm.
because it's an alert. You should be alert all the time. And if any kid is trying to joke with another kid regarding like being pushed in the water, or just, I don't know, or trying to put their head down, or that's not even allowed. And there should be extreme measures taken in that place, because you are not scaring the child, you're putting their life in danger.
Yes. And that's why I mentioned the kids' parents' attitude, because they can kind of get it from their
Yeah.
surroundings and it can come back from home as well.
And it also can have a very traumatizing experience for the kid who's being bullied.
Yep.
So it's a lot of big major mistakes in and being or someone bullying someone in the water. It's a big no-no.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you've had that come up in your experience so far. I mean, I'm still new to it.
I've had some experiences where kids try to push each other underwater.
And how did you handle it? So for
And in my classroom, usually, even something as small as chatting to the friend is not even allowed in the swimming pool because I have 20 children in the water, and
mashallah.
I cannot afford any disruption, interruption, or any of that. If the child does not want to listen, they don't have swimming for that class, and they know it. And it's very extreme measure because they only have a short time to swim in the full week, and there's a big number of children, and on top of all of that, it's safety comes first no matter what.
Yeah, actually, can we elaborate more on this? I love that you brought this up because when I work with that number, like the 20 kids range, I want to see how did you handle it. So if anyone who's watching the replay, and who wants to kind of create the environment or get other kids involved, how do you go about teaching swim lessons? If you don't mind, like sharing some tips.
If you have a big number like that, you cannot be gentle. I know when we deal with children, you want to be nice and stuff with them, but as a start, no,
Yeah.
you don't have that option at all because one mistake, no other chance, or no, sorry is not accepted. One time mistake, that's it, you're out because you don't know. You have to be expecting the worst when it comes to water because you are dealing with a, I don't want to say hazardous zone, but it's a danger zone, and anything wrong, even as small as slip, they might fall, and if they want to run around the pool, that's also not allowed because you don't know their children. There's a huge chance that the child might slip around the pool, and it can be a really tough one, either a broken arm or a big cut. Or so the children's safety is very important, and putting rules and applying the rules and being extreme with them is very important. If you are on one-on-one with a child, that's a different story because you are in control of the environment at that moment. But if you have a big number, no, you have to be very strict.
And so when it comes to starting at home for our viewers, we have a few parents and like the replay. How can we start that environment at home? How can we start that conversation before we actually get into the water?
If the mom knows how to swim, in terms of safety or education or
Both
water
of them. Like,
safety.
how can we introduce swimming to the kids, water safety before we say, "Hey, let's go take a swim lesson, guys"?
Um,
Slowly.
um, Depends if the parents know how to swim. They can share the skill with them. They can play games with them. There can be many fun ways to introduce swimming to the family. And I'm sure for children, if they see adults doing something fun, they would love to learn about it and they would want to do it. They would come and ask you, as long as the comfort and the confidence is provided. But if the parents don't know how to swim, maybe they can pick up swimming lessons together. Um, or they can have discussions together. And I think for learning how to swim for children, they would love it. Unless if they had an extreme experience and they have phobia, or then the parents have to sit and talk with them about what they went through, that swimming is very important for them, for their health, for to save their lives, for so many reasons.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if the parents know that, then they can like play with them. If not, then that could be an opportunity for both parents and
And,
kids.
and parents' attitude play a big role in terms of saying I'm scared of water or being negative regarding swimming and all of that. It should Parents should try their best to avoid being negative about whatever experience they have had in the past, because children pick on that very quickly and they will start imitating their parents as if that experience have happened to them. Yeah, so parents need to watch how they communicate or how they speak about an experience around their children. Just keeping it positive is the best way to go when you have kids around you.
Yeah, I know we talk about parents' attitude, but have you ever had any experience when have you ever had a like have you ever told a parent like you need to work on yourself? Like I don't know how to approach that. Like have you ever had that ever where you had to have that one-on-one talk with the parents say, please work on yourself or It's a little sensitive
For the
topic,
parents or for the child?
like for both. So, like,
Huh.
I'm not
But
sure.
I've never, yeah, I did not teach parents swimming. I've never had the experience with parents.
Mhm.
My experience was with children. So I do have some parents ask me, "How's my child? What do you recommend?" Some parents, they're happy that their children are learning how to swim, and that's it. Some parents, they want them to be athletic and learn the sport more and go take an extra step. So it depends. They will come and ask, but in regards of parents swimming, I don't have experience with that.
The reason why I asked that question because with my experience so far, right, it's been a bit difficult to talk to the parents to give them like constructive feedback
Mm-hmm.
about why their child might be misbehaving and how the parents' behavior is really important for their house, but it's just a sensitive topic. So, I'm still learning how to communicate that effectively with the parents. So that's why I asked you,
The
have you?
parents, okay. Regarding the misbehavior, you should be straightforward because
Mhm.
it's a very sensitive zone.
Yep.
So the parents need to understand, listen, your child did this, and if God forbid, if something happened, this could be the scenario, this or this or this. So please talk to your child. I have talked to them, and you tell them what steps you have taken or what it is. But water, being around water, you cannot afford being gentle.
Hmm.
You have to be straightforward, and you have to be strict with the rules.
And have have you ever had parents who kind of got offended and like, didn't take the right way from you?
Not really. So far, I haven't had that issue. Not really, no.
Okay, no, thank you so much for like, being open about it. And that kind of a good summary that it's important to the swim instructor to have an open, like direct
Yeah,
discussion with the parents. And it's really important for the parents to have an open mind, understanding and how important this is for both of them, both sides.
yeah.
Thank you. And so our next slide is the phobia and how to avoid that. So that's something that I'm going to have you dive more into it. Again, like I just started teaching in October 2019, so I'm still kind of like new to the whole game. But would you please dive into depth about the fear of separation from the parents,
Mm.
um, and all of the phobia, and how do you go about it?
Most of the children who have had phobia, they have had a negative experience somehow, and it stuck with them, either in a shower or someone have throw them in the swimming pool, or
Yeah.
they felt like they were drowning at one moment. So they have had some sort of negative connection with water at one point. So when you want to introduce swimming to the child, you need to make it as comfortable as possible. If and the instructor have to watch out for the signs, if the child is willing to learn or not willing to learn, and proceed from there. Now it depends on the child. Not all children are the same. Some of them are a little bit more stubborn than others regarding entering water if they have phobias, and you have to be extremely patient and extremely gentle, and you need to be keeping your eyes on that specific child. It cannot be done in a group or a big class. Otherwise you cannot pay full attention to that child with phobia, and then you also have to teach a skill to the other kids. It will be a little bit difficult. So it is best for those children, if they have phobia, it's best if they get one-on-one education.
Yeah, and that reminds me of who I work with so far. So like I had 2-year-old kid who was so afraid of the water. Like he's so
Mm.
excited, he's so hyper. And then it's so funny because as soon as he walked in the water, like he just ran around the pool deck and like don't run. And it's like the funniest thing, but the scariest thing. So what helped me is to put a floater around him, play with him, and then
Yeah,
how to avoid
yeah,
phobia, right? So like that also goes back to the words that you use with kids, whether it's soccer
yeah,
teaching or any like sports, to make it an imagination type. So for
yeah. You need
instance,
to
when I
make it comfortable, make
yeah,
them feel safe, comfortable, and being positive.
yeah, and so for instance, like I've had him like in the float, I'm like, hey, you're in the space now, and like just use these little words with him. And then the other kid that I worked, the other two like siblings, they were so like hyped, right? And that was like the hardest thing to keep them calm. And so with the Red Cross, for instance, we learned the importance of teaching them like how to jump, and then from jumping to reach, so jump and reach to the pool deck, to educate them that it is important, goes back to water safety, but the importance of building confidence in water, number one, and then understanding the concept like you have to learn how to reach before like
Yeah,
the skill.
yeah,
And that's how you avoid phobias. Is there
yeah.
anything else that you would like to add on this topic, or
Um, for phobia, um, just being positive and being patient, giving the child the comfort and the safety for them to feel like, okay, we will try to learn.
have you had any anxious kids,
Yeah, yeah,
adult?
I've had those cases. Yeah, yeah.
And so how did you go about it with the like super super
Um,
anxious kids?
yeah, it makes their teaching extremely difficult
Yeah.
because when I teach in a school setting, so I have my 20 children in the water, they're excited and they're kicking their feet and they're happy, and then and then the teacher is beside the child, and they're waiting for you to give instruction, but the teacher is with someone else. So I am lucky to have assistant.
Uh-huh.
We communicate, and then if there is any child, and you should never, for a safety, you should never be in the swimming pool by yourself. There should be someone outside watching all the time. um, yeah, but if a child is having or being more scared than their peers, then I would be close to that child and try to guide them through by giving them comfort, positive, try to do games, or just do that extra step to make them feel like they can start swimming or
Great point.
learning how to swim. Yeah,
Yes, and that reminds me when I worked with KAA, King Abdul Academy, we had some kids like that who were like super super scared. So I learned, and what we had to do is take those scared kids and have them like sit on the stairs instead of like
yeah,
being with the rest of the students. Have them sit, get comfortable with the water first, because again they are phobic, like they're scared. So take baby steps instead of just dumping them into the water straight away. Have them like start at the pool deck, stairs, hold on to something, kick the water, let them feel the water, make their hair wet, learn the bobs, the bubbles, and then progress your way. Great
yeah.
points. So let's see our next slide. Oh my god, we're going really fast with this. This is so fun. So anyone who is currently watching, please let us know if you have any questions. I did take a few notes before this. Um, just for all of us to know that 88% among children aged 1 to 4 are the highest risk age group for drowning, and we have a few shots. All right. Great. We have
Mhm.
questions. I love this. So Khadija is here and she's asking, how do you deal with overconfident kids? Oh, I love that. We talked about phobic, but now the overconfident.
Yeah, well, you have cases where, yeah, miss, I know how to swim. I know I want to go to the deep
Exactly.
end. Like,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, you have those cases. Well, whichever case you come across, as an instructor, you first have to assess yourself because children are children. They want to say that they are the best, they're this, they're that. Maybe they are, but they get super excited, or maybe because according to their level
Mhm.
that they have reached, wow, they have got into like a really great level. So it's very important that the instructor assess in the right area first and then proceed from there.
That's a good question, answer. And I remember from Red Cross, we also learned that, like, with that kind of kid, or if you're assume group, then they could become a assistant. So maybe they can also jump on, give them that little leadership position, build
Yeah,
that
which
skill into
it's good. They can be a good motivation for their friends, but you need to know if they are really good as they are saying, or they are
them.
just showing off in front of their friends. And you will also be surprised that some shy kids will shock you with how skilled they are, and they are beyond what you would have imagined. So again, it all depends on the instructor, and they have to assess. You can, of course, you're dealing with children, so you have to assess yourself.
Awesome. And so w- I have two questions. I will start from Gina's question. Um, it's for you, Nura. How do you know if it's the true that infants automatically know how to swim? I am not sure if that's a rumor, but I have heard that somewhere before. I just thought that was interesting. Also, a question for both of you and Ola. Let's do the number one. Question number one. How do you know if is it true like that infants automatically know how to swim?
No, infants who are excited about water, but they don't know how to swim. They need training in regards of how they can save themselves in case they are in the water, and how they can float on their back or try to save themselves, catch a breath. But that needs an experienced trainer in that area, specialized for infants.
Right. And so what about this questions for both of
Yeah.
us? What do you both believe is the most important thing a child should know and understand before they start swimming?
Uh, they should know for children, they should know about safety first and foremost, around the pool, inside the pool, or around the beach. And they should also know skills how they can save themselves, or if there's danger, what to do without hurting themselves, of course. Safety always comes first.
That's a good point. And it was asked for both of us. Let's see. For me, I can say that what they should know, what Nura said, and to elaborate a little bit more, to understand the breathing, like to not hold the breath in the water for too long, because that could also increase phobia, and then like more drowning, and then they should understand like the whole running around the pool, because like if they slip and they get injured. Now we have adult like from parents. How do I prevent from Zaliha? How do I prevent myself from drowning? My son Yusuf is asking. Thanks. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so for Yusuf, what you can do is first of all learn how to make bubbles inside the water, and then from there, because a lot of children they like to hold their breath, and it's very critical that they learn how to make bubbles and how to float. These are the two very basic skills that every child should learn before they start learning how to move inside the water in terms of their kicks, their moves. So for Yusuf, one, you can practice making bubbles in the water, and yeah, learning how to float on the back and the stomach.
Yes. So where do you start with your teaching? Do you start from the back or the front?
I start with the front.
Okay, that's what I just was wondering, because there are different modules of teaching. So they also asked a question: what is your best advice for swimming at sea? And I think that might be
Okay.
better
If
for
it,
you.
it depends if you were living by the sea
Ocean.
or going on vacation, it's different, yeah? If you are living by the sea and I guess you're more accustomed for being in the water, um just learning how to be not a skilled swimmer, but a confident swimmer is very important. Even with that, it's always important that you tell your children and yourself that safety matters all the time. Watch out for signs that can put you in danger regarding it's a weather, or there's something around in the water, or if there is like a wildlife in the water. So always make sure that your environment is safe and that you have enough skills to save yourself. If not, and you're going on a vacation beside the water, it's very important that you have your life jackets or your safety precautions with you whenever you are in the water. That's for you and whoever with you.
And
And that makes sense.
it does make sense. And I want to elaborate on this. So for sea or open water, so they have your still here. Also, like look up on how to swim in open water. You'll see that it's really important to have buoy around you. Number one, right? Number two, if there are lifeguards, pay attention to the red flags. If it's like if there are a lot of waves, that like the safety
Yeah,
aspect of it, and then maybe you can walk in the water first and see how deep you can go, and then up to like for instance like up to here. That's how far you can go. That's how far you can swim to, and then try to like not go too further if you're still not a super experienced swimmer, just in case, God forbid, you cannot come back to the shore. So stay as close as you can to the shore for safety. And so if anybody wants, to come and help, it's a lot easier. You're welcome. Are there any other questions? We've had a few audience that just came in. Thank you for attending. Oh, they left. Okay. Are there any other questions? Let's see. I always swim, Khadija, with safety, because she's a triathlete, so she's also an experienced swimmer. Can attach to me and never swim directly to the shore. An angle is best, or you will be pulled out. Thank you for sharing this. If you want to come on and share your experience with us, because you also have kids, um, feel free to put your audio on, please. If Zaliha, Summer is still here. All right. Is there any
Assalamu
remarks?
alaikum.
Wa alaikum
This
assalam.
is Khadija.
Yes.
I think my internet is not so hot today.
So yeah, Khadija, share with us on how you talk to your kids about swimming, because you're a mom, you're a triathlete, and then you have kids, mashallah.
Yeah, so I have two who love to swim. That's why I asked about the overconfident, because both of them are overconfident at times in the water. But the suggestions that she gave about teaching them to float and blowing bubbles, those are the first things. My father taught me how to swim, so those are the first things that I taught my children as well. So at least I feel like from a licensed instructor, just as a mom, I'm on the right track. And I also, when I learned how to swim, I only learned how to swim in the ocean. So those are the things that my father first taught me. Never swim without a safety device attached to you, even as a strong swimmer. And if you feel any kind of pull tide, never swim directly, was it perpendicular to the shore, because you will get pulled out harder. Swim at an angle. It seems like it's longer, but you'll get pushed in versus getting pulled out.
That's good. I did not know that. I've never swum in open water, so I wish I can answer that question. Do they have that helped you? Please let us know. And Nura is back. That's a really good tip. Are there any other questions before we wrap up? Let's see. We're almost done. 100%. Yes. So angle, not perpendicular, angle. Think of it that way. And I hope that it's a good reminder. Inshallah. So how you can stay
Yes.
in touch? Yes. How you can stay in touch with us? You can follow me on Be Fit for Akhira. I also have a private Facebook group. Workouts, any questions for anything fitness related, purposeful fitness with Coach Ola. And then you can follow up with Dr. Nura on Instagram at Dr.Nura Arabi. And then her email, did I say it correctly, your last name?
Yeah.
And then also, I want to promote Khadija's webinar is next weekend. Make sure to come if you're a triathlete or you want to become a triathlete. You can hear her story and Jerry. The link to our Facebook group is in the chat group if you want to join. Gina just added. Thank you, Gina. And thank you everyone who came and watched. This is amazing. Again, as a wrap up, it starts at home. Safety, talk about it. Do not be afraid to talk about it. And even though we are with COVID, so maybe you can share with us one last tip, Noura, if you don't mind. We are in COVID. People have limited access to the pool right now.
Speaking of COVID-19, you should always know that danger is always unpredicted. So predict the unpredicted and always be ready, and safety always comes first. So even if people are not going out much, not going to the pools, it's still very important that the children and the parents or whoever does not know how to swim, it's very important to learn swimming as a life skill. Regardless, COVID-19, no COVID-19, it's a very important skill to have. Safety first and always predict the unpredictable.
Yes, thank you so much. And that's the takeaway message that I want to pass on to the baton is that no matter what, talk about it. It's never too late, never too early.
Yeah.
6 months, we just mentioned that. That's how young that is. And then make it fun. So maybe you can find stories. If you have little kids, you can find stories that are comic. You can also talk about it with the bubble bath and the shower. Because when it happened with COVID, a lot of the pools were shut down, right? And a lot of the swimmers were having, they were just joking about it. They were taking pictures in their bathtub. It's a joke. It's funny. But that
Yeah.
could be another example for parents to take from the swimmers onto their kids, like, hey, we can still talk about swimming at home. And
Yeah.
that's a fun way. Well, thank you so much, Nura, and everyone that came. We are going to,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I'm just going to stop recording for a moment.